Ladies and gentlemen, make your porridge thick and creamy. Leave it on your doorstep before the sun has set. And don't forget to check your traps for huffalumps.
Because it's time to talk Tull to me. Is that how you get huffalumps as porridge?
No, it's two different things, Nick.
Oh.
Welcome back to Talk Tull to Me. I'm Omen Sade.
And I am Nick McGill.
We are Feckless Moans.
And this, in case you're wondering, is Talk Tull to Me.
A spiritual maypole dance in the verdant meadow of prog rock, where Nick and I weave, unweave, and weave again the brightly colored ribbons that are the songs of Jethro Tull. Every dance step a note, every twirl an album, and we are both seeking to be the best dancers to possibly receive a kiss from the May Queen himself, Ian Anderson.
We may bump into each other every now and then. We may step on each other's toes, assuredly.
Indeed.
But in the end, we will have a very beautiful design.
Yes. Yes. So, Nick.
Yes, Omen.
We have no business.
No business today.
There's no business like show business.
No business like Tull business.
And we have no business at all.
And we have no business talking about Jethro Tull, but we'll do it anyway.
But we will do it.
And for this week, we are talking Tull to you, dear, sweet, supple listeners, about the fourth track off of the album War Child. It is Backdoor Angels.
Let's have, as is our wont, a listen.
In and out of the front door and 12 backdoor angels.
So, Nick McGill.
Omen Sade, what are we thinking here?
That is a song.
Fact.
Before we dive in, I want to ask you, in the spectrum, in the great chain of being of Jethro Tull songs, where does this lie for you? Is this one that just really gives you goosebumps and you would take with you to a desert island, or would you leave this one on the sinking ship?
Well, if we're thinking like desert island, if you bring an actual disc with you, it would by default come with me because it's on War Child.
No, but this is a scenario in which during the cause of the shipwreck, all of the songs have fallen off of their discs.
While everyone else is abandoning ship, I'm on the computer loading up my MP3 player with specific songs.
They're getting the water and medicine, and you're burning yourself a cassette tape.
Perfect. In terms of ranking all of the Tull songs, this falls as a favorite because it is part of War Child, and by default, everything on War Child I love. However, in terms of my favorites list, it's on the bottom. Like, if I had to lose one or two, this would be one of them.
What an awkward position for this song to be in.
I know, it's on the fence. This
song is on thin ice.
It really is. But it's all because of those two really jammy bits that we have in between the 2-verse and the 4-verse mark.
Yes.
Those kind of freestyle-y, meaty guitar bits. They're just too jammy for me.
Now, when you say jammy, you are referring to a thing which I do not wish to speak of, which is the jam band phenomenon.
Yeah. It like freestyle. That's kind of one of the reasons I don't like really freeform jazz, and it's hard for me to follow. And I understand people appreciate that. I'm not knocking that, but for me, that is a turnoff musically.
Sure. Right. Well, and everyone has their preferences. Let's talk about the guitar solo since we're on it. I know we usually do it. No, this is what we do. Usually we record a podcast So let's jump in and talk about that solo.
Yeah.
So first of all, in terms of the progression of this album, we have not heard Martin Barre that much. Obviously, he's been on every song, but he's been kind of laying low. Mm-hmm. And in this song, he is busting out.
It's like Animal from the Muppets. It's like they couldn't contain him anymore, so they got him to song number 4, and he just broke out.
That's yeah. This is why you don't shake the bottle of guitar before you open it, because otherwise it just sprays everywhere.
Martin gets everywhere.
There is Martin in the curtains.
We just shampooed the rug.
Yeah, so it is a. I don't necessarily agree with you that it sounds jam bandy, or it doesn't. I'll say it doesn't sound jam bandy to me, but I do understand why you say that. Maybe not like jam band, like Fish or Grateful Dead jam band, but it's on the cusp of jam and just guitar solo. And like we've said before, with guitar solos and drum solos, it's a little boring for me. Right. I mean, I think that, and there's a lot of it. I mean, this is a 5-minute and 30-second song.
Yeah, it's the longest that we've heard so far by, I think, about 2 minutes
on this album.
Yes. Yeah.
And probably about, I would say, at least a minute and a half worth are those two solos.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
This is an ensemble solo.
Yeah, it's a band-wide solo.
And, particularly I want to point out that Jeffrey Hammond is burning calories at the rate of someone doing a Tabata workout by playing the bass on this song.
I'll have to listen specifically for the bass the next time I listen to it.
Yeah. No, it's really great. It's very fast. It's a very, very, very fast bass run in the solo sections.
Okay.
I do think that there is a level of abstractness to the guitar solo. It's the thing that I enjoy about this song, and I think this is sort of exactly the thing that you don't enjoy about this song, is that there's such a contrast between the verses and the solo.
Yeah.
The verses are really thoughtfully composed and very tuneful. Mm-hmm. We have Ian's flute following the voice.
Yeah.
In unison almost, and making a lot of variations around the voice, but broadly following the melody.
Yeah.
Which is really cool and something we haven't really heard that much elsewhere.
It's very unique to Tull so far.
Yes. And probably unique in the world.
Yes, well, naturally.
And then by contrast, the solos are just like full steam ahead, very kind of peculiar time signature, and a lot of rapid changes in all kinds of directions.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a horse. Like the difference between a horse when it's doing dressage, which is that fancy horse walking that they do in the now.
The rich person horse dancing.
Rich person horse dancing, yes, developed at the same time as ballet was, and for the same reasons, because Louis XVI had way too much time on his hands.
Yeah.
Maybe the 14th, I don't know.
One of those Louis.
One of those Louis. And so that's sort of what the verses feel like to me.
Okay.
And then the solos feel like, when you see a wild horse on, like, in the mountains of Australia, just freaking kicking itself all over the place, limbs, hooves going everywhere, going up a mountain, going down a mountain. It's free. It's a free horse.
Yeah.
That's what Martin Barre is in this moment. He's a free horse.
He is a free horse. Yeah.
He's a Brumby.
Is that a type of horse?
That's what the wild horses of Australia are called.
That sounds right, actually. That checks out.
Brumby.
Yep.
Yeah.
For that language.
But I just want to argue or suggest that, in fact, the solos have more structure than they may appear to have.
They do. You don't even have to argue that. I acknowledge that.
Oh.
But I think you actually hit on it. I think it is because it's such a drastic change that it's a bit too jarring for me. It's like that 9-minute solo in Pembroke in Songs from the Wood, that it's such a lovely, like, lamentable, just mournful song, and then you've got 9 minutes of basically ambient music of just like a single guitar note just moving and
on overdrive.
And I feel like it detracts a little, and again, that's just me, but it takes something away from the song for me.
Well, it's not for all listeners.
Right.
And, I'm glad you brought up Songs from the Wood, because for me, a lot of the sounds that we hear in this track are very, I was going to say reminiscent, but I guess I should say premonition of Songs from the Wood. There's a lot of, it's a little bit hard to put my finger on, but maybe it's like the setup that Martin is using, the kind of guitar that he's using. I don't know, the history of every guitar that he used. Mm-hmm. But there's something in the sound that just really reminds me of Songs from the Wood.
Are you saying particularly in those solos, or just in general in this song?
Both in the solo and in the verses.
Okay.
But for kind of different reasons. Like the sound quality of Ian playing the acoustic guitar and the way that he's got his flute going. And I don't know, maybe it's like a reverb thing.
Okay.
This podcast would be so much better if one of us was a sound engineer.
I know, right? And the other one was a musician. Like, that'd be perfect.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to take over for us, you have to be one of those.
There's an alternate world, Nick, an alternate universe where this podcast is just reeking of professionalism.
No, the alternate universe is one of us is a musician, the other is a sound engineer, and we talk about ABBA instead of Jethro Tull.
Oh, God.
Obsess ABBA with me.
Obsess ABBA with me. Yes, yes. But we're both raging alcoholics in that reality.
Oh, yes, in that one.
Speaking of which, Nick.
Yes, Omen?
What are you... What's the word I'm looking for?
Imbibing?
No.
Partaking in?
Yes. What's the thing where you pour out one for your dead homies, but like in a Greek way?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know that term. I know
it'll come to me.
I know the term koepheroi, which is water bearers.
Goodness me. What are you drinking tonight, Nick?
Tonight I'm drinking. A shout out to good old Jesse Winter. I think that's 2 shout outs in a row in 1 week after the other. Ithaca Beer Company's Fruit. It's F-R...
Can you... Yes, I was just going to ask you to spell that.
F-R-U with an umlaut, T.
Oh, I am always with an umlaut.
It is a Berliner-style Weiss ale with cranberry and grape. It is from an Ithaca Beer Company sour variety pack.
Is it good?
It's very good. I like a fruity beer. I think I've said it before. I'm not ashamed. I like a fruity beer.
You know what they say, Nick?
What do they say, Omen?
Never. I'm drinking a resin from the 6 Point Brewery in the very fine Brooklyn, New York. It is a double IPA, so it is very, very hoppy, and it has a remarkably high alcohol content. 9.1, in fact.
Wow.
Yeah. Little sips.
It's a sipping beer. So
it's a sipping.
We are both drinking local again.
We are local to us, at least.
Here's to that. Yeah, and that's all that matters. Is our own local. All right, back to the music. I've only got one more note in terms of instruments. Okay. And I've never noticed this before. But at 22 seconds into the song, there is the most amazing harp flourish I've ever heard.
Do you know what's so crazy?
So
I was
epic.
literally going to talk about that.
I've never heard it before. I never noticed it.
Me neither. Not until this listening. And it's right. 'Tis said they put men to sleep.
Put we men to sleep.
Oh, I didn't realize that it was tied in with that. I like that. That makes even more sense.
Oh yeah, it's very narrative driven. It's a very narrative driven harp.
It's almost a sound effect. You know? Like it's almost Foley.
Totally. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It's nice, and I didn't notice any harp anywhere else. So it clearly must have been like Dee standing in the background waiting for them to hit the harp at that point, you know.
Waiting for them to get that point and then hitting the harpist.
Right. Because I honestly, there are no strings in this, right? Or are there? And I just didn't notice because it's very busy musically.
I don't think that there are strings. There is certainly not those big sweeping string sections.
Yes.
Yeah, musically, that's all I have. Although I do want to say I have been trying basically all week to figure out what time signature this song is in, and I'm lost. My best guess is that it is in 6/8, maybe.
Okay.
But maybe with some irregular measures, because again, were we musicians, this podcast would actually probably be a lot more boring.
Yeah. Us bumbling around making our best estimates is, I'm hoping, fairly entertaining.
Let's pretend for 10 seconds that we are, in fact, musicians. Are you ready?
Yep, okay.
All right, so the G flat with the raised seventh on the tail switch is really a diminuendo of the sforzando in a kind of Baroque fashion.
But let's not forget that the strings strike a discordant harmony when they meet together with the glissando.
That's true. It's more of an Italian counterpoint than a Swiss counterpoint. And Mom, get out of here! Mom, get out of the basement! Get out of here, Mom! And that was as if we were musicians.
I'm not gonna find a sting for that because we're never doing that again.
I hope not. Let's move on, Nick, and talk about the meaning of this song.
Yeah, let's get into the actual lyrics and the content. And I hope that you have something, because I only have 2 or 3 notes on specific lines, but overall, this is a song that's never really jived with me in terms of getting a message across or telling a story.
Yeah, I agree that it is fairly opaque and coded. It almost feels like it almost feels like reading Spenser's The Fairy Queen. You know, it feels highly allegorical.
Yeah.
But let's sort of like ballpark. You know, Ian writes songs about a lot of different subjects, and they tend to group into certain categories. So would what category would you say that this song is in?
So our options that we've seen thus far, religion,
right,
anti-disestablishment, kind of,
yeah, yes.
You know, and social commentary and sex.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Angels leads me to think religion.
Yeah.
But it feels so... My lack of understanding, if it's religion, it feels so insubstantially religion here.
Yeah. That's a great way of saying it. I think that this song is a little bit of a pivot point from what we've heard before, which is a general critique of organized religion. to something a bit more profound and a bit more genuine and authentic from Ian Anderson, which is discussion of his faith. What he actually believes in.
Which actually may be why I'm so thrown off by it, is because I would never expect that from him.
Yeah, well, and also because it's him, he doesn't, whatever he believes in, you can rest assured that it is completely different than anyone else, what anyone else believes in.
And his beliefs are generally not so veiled. He's usually a little more clear in terms of his beliefs. He's a little more ham-handed.
Well, I think he's usually more ham-handed in terms of his opinions, but I think that this is the first time that we've really heard about his, and this is my my suppository on the subject.
Your suppository?
Is that the word that I'm looking for, Nick? My conjecture.
Your supposition?
I always get those two confused.
There is a joke in there somewhere. I'll get back to you.
Thank you. I think that this is the first time that we've really heard him grapple with what he truly believes in.
And what is that, Omen? What do you get out of this?
Okay. I get from this that he is grappling with, on the one hand, his belief in the divine. I believe that Ian Anderson believes that there is such a thing as divinity in this universe, and that it has some form of intelligence.
Yeah, he's been on the record plenty of times saying he's not anti-religion, he's anti how religion is. Exactly,
and we've heard plenty of examples of him telling us how he doesn't like how religion is.
Right, but he does possess some level of spirituality.
And I think in this song, what we're hearing is him starting to grapple with, well, what does that spirituality really look like for him? Mm-hmm. And I think that specifically what he's grappling with in this song is the idea of control. I wrote down the word control when I was listening to this because there's this kind of theme of, angels canonically and in terms of the Christian faith are beings who carry out God's will. So you ask God for protection or, to help, to give you strength with something, and he does that. He grants that prayer through the use of his emissaries, who are angels.
Who have no free will.
Who have no free will. Good point. Yes, because all the ones who displayed free will, well, we know what happened to them. They went to New Jersey. They went to hell. That was a dig against New Jersey.
Doesn't Dogma take place in New Jersey? You ever see that?
I have seen that, and I would not be surprised to hear that it did.
Yeah. I think it does.
Any place where you're not legally allowed to pump your own gas, clearly God has turned a blind eye.
That's so weird.
But Jersey bashing aside, and we'll come back to it later. For me, what I'm getting from this song is a sense of, okay, well, what if there are these divine spirits who just kind of do whatever the heck they want to do, and that I, as a mortal, have no control over? In and out of the front door ran 12 backdoor angels. Their hair was a golden brown. They didn't see me wink my eye.
In and out of the front door ran 12 backdoor angels. Their hair was a golden brown. They didn't see me wink my eye.
To me, I feel like there's a sense of being aware of the divine and being completely unable to affect it. So, there's no such thing as prayer being effective.
So is the imagery of the narrator winking his eye, that's an acknowledgement toward the divine, but the divine does not acknowledge.
Does not wink back.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's kind of what I feel.
Okay, I get that. I like that.
And then we kind of go on this journey of listing all the things that these backdoor angels do. And
you just
ahead.
Said, can we clarify backdoor? Like, what is a backdoor angel?
You know, I wish that was some kind of cool street term that was readily available on Urban Dictionary.
Have you looked?
It is. Yes. I was like, oh, yeah, backdoor angel, yeah. Okay. Oh, no. Nope. All right. It's just Indianism.
Is it backdoor? If something is backdoor, it's like secretive? It's underhanded?
Yeah, it's out of the view of society.
Okay.
It's also familiar.
Oh, right.
You know, if you go to your parents' house, you're not gonna like knock on the front door. That'd be very weird. You'd go through the garage, most likely.
So they're slightly secretive yet familiar angels?
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm getting. I think that they are angels who are out of the view of the official.
Okay.
They're like off-duty angels.
Oh, so they might be sneaking around behind God's back, even.
Could be.
Okay.
Could be. Something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
But they're not. They're off the leash.
Okay. They're on Rumspringa.
Is that German for spring break?
No, that's the Amish. When they turn like 16, they get like a year to go off and experience the real world. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, exactly. So then we have this sort of catalog.
Oddly enough, Rumspringa translates to backdoor angel.
That's not. Translates to rum drink.
Rum drinker. Yes, we have a catalog. We have three stanzas of things. It's like bullet points. It's a to-do list for the backdoor angels.
Exactly. And that immediately reminded this massive nerd of the Queen Mab speech from Romeo and Juliet. Mercutio is basically teasing the heck out of Romeo because Romeo is like, I had a dream. and Mercutio is like, oh, you want to talk about dreams? Okay, let's talk about Queen Mab, who brings dreams. And a lot of his speech is a list of everything that she does.
Mm-hmm.
And in this state she gallops night by night and through lovers' brains, and then they dream of love, on courtiers' knees that dream on curtsies straight, or lawyers' fingers who straight dream on fees. It's a sort of like long list of everything that Queen Mab does. And it feels a bit like that to me. And then if you look at the content of the things that he's describing that they do, you know, there's a lot of like, they make flowers bloom, and they color the sky, and
we're back to the angels, not
back to the backdoor angels. There's a lot of very naturalistic imagery that we hear, and that to me is sort of like leading me down the path thought-wise of Ian's connection with the natural world.
All of this is, I mean, you blame it on nature, blame it on the fairies, blame it on the backdoor angels. All of this is like a natural, well, almost all of it has a natural feel to it. And
totally.
And that, I just want to point out that second verse. 'Tis said they put we men to sleep with just a whisper, and touch the heads of dying dogs and make them linger.
'Tis said they put we men to sleep with just a whisper, and touch the heads of dying dogs and make them linger.
That is some of the most beautiful poetry of all Tull, I think. I don't know why it resonates with me so much, but it's just so beautiful. And maybe it's because of that gorgeous harp flourish in there that I never realized until now.
Maybe that's what got you.
But
you're a sucker for a glissando.
Sucker for that harp. But that I don't know. I just think that those lines, that couplet is just so gorgeous. So beautiful.
Yeah. So the things that stand out to me in those verses are the connection with nature and also the kind of how do I want to say this? Like non-organized.
The randomness.
The randomness of it.
Yeah.
You know, they drop a penny in every other bowl and make half the beggars lose. It's sort of like, you know, there's no order to it. There's no like, well, you were good and so you get a penny, and you're bad so you don't get a penny. That's not how we think of canonical Christianity.
Right. All the beggars get all of the money.
They should.
Yeah. It's chaotic. It's chance almost, which goes against what you think of when you think of God. Like, nothing is chance, it's all predestined.
But I think that's like one of the fundamental struggles for Christians. You know, I often hear people say, you know, or, you know, trying to justify world events and saying, you know, if God loves us, how could he have let this happen? And then it's like, oh, well, God works in mysterious ways. Like, well, does he? You know, or saying, oh, well, this happened clearly, you know, this tragedy happened because these people were sinning. And it's like, first of all, that doesn't seem like the God that's written about in the Bible, except maybe the Old Testament.
Old Testament, yeah.
But like, it's much more toward this notion of nature in which there exists no notion of good or evil. There just is. Yeah. There just is existence.
Yeah, it's the cycle of life. It is killing to eat and stay alive so you can propagate. It is doing what your bloodline and your body require, and that's it.
And some people, you know, regardless of any virtue or skill that they have, some people prosper and some people don't.
Yeah.
And in the midst of it, there is all this incredible beauty.
Right. Some things work well together, others clash. Some things thrive and some things die. And that goes for the forest and that goes for the city.
Right. So, and again, this is conjecture, this is speculation.
Yep.
What we do best.
All that we do.
Literally the only thing that we're good for. But I do think that, for me, it kind of points toward this non-dualistic sense of morality, this sense of this non-dualistic. Did I just say non-dualistic?
Yep.
I'll say it again. This non-dualistic sense of morality where things happen and there is divine presence, but that doesn't mean that there's necessarily a strict order that can be written down in a book.
Now, what do you mean by non-dualistic?
So in a lot of religions and a lot of philosophy, there's this concept of it's either good or bad.
Okay.
It's negative or positive. It is good or evil.
Black and white.
It's right or it's wrong.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
dichotomous. Yeah. Okay.
And most philosophers and I would consider Ian Anderson a philosopher, arrive at the conclusion that dualistic thinking is inherently false because the world is much more complex than that.
Sure. There is gray area, for lack of a better term.
At least, and then in some philosophical traditions, there is only oneness. You know, that's sort of going toward, for instance, Buddhism.
Sure.
There's this sense of like there literally is no good or evil. There is just is, and is.
It's not two sides of the same coin. It's just a coin.
It's one surface of the same sphere.
Yeah. You gotta kind of suspension of physics to imagine it, but yeah.
Yes. It's both sides of the same Mobius strip.
Yeah, there you go. That's perfect.
And I think that Ian kind of brings this out more directly in the next stanza after all this is, why do the faithful have such a will to believe in something?
Oh, hang on.
And call it...
Hang on, Siren. Sorry. Drinky break.
Yeah, the sirens are always trying to lure sailors to their death over here in New York.
Lord. Drinking? Is at the bottom of a milkshake?
No, it's me chewing the hops.
It's just a can of hops.
It's a stalk. It's fresh off the plant. I'm just not. It's like I'm eating it like corn on the cob.
like a typewriter. Okay,
Yeah.
Start by reading that stanza again.
Why do the faithful have such a will to believe in something and call it the name they choose, having chosen nothing?
Why do the faithful have such a will to believe in something and call it the name they choose, having chosen nothing?
To me, this verse feels like such a poignant jab, but I don't know what it means.
Yes.
So I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. Why is it awesome? How is it awesome?
There are a couple of different concepts which jump out to me, and one of them is this notion of putting a label on divinity.
Okay, sure.
You know, a lot of organized religion is like, there is divinity. We shall call it by this name and worship it in this way, and if you don't worship it in this way, speaking of the Amish, you know, there are rifts that happen in communities because this group of people says that God wants their suspenders to be 2 inches wide, and this group of people says their suspenders should be 1 inch wide according to God, and like they fall out with each other. And it's like, I don't know much about God, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't give a about suspenders.
He has bigger fish to fry.
He has bigger suspenders to fry.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the
so there's
3-inch suspenders.
That's right. So there's a sense I'm getting from this verse about like the inherent fallacy of defining divinity. There's an old Zen Buddhist expression. I forget who said it. One of the old Zen Buddhists
checks out.
The moment you speak of a thing, you miss the mark. And I feel like that's something that Ian is talking about in this case.
It's a matter of priorities. Like that's not important. Naming it is not important.
And also, it's a bit like modern physics. It's like by trying to define it, it changes.
Yeah. It's Schrodinger's religion.
Schrodinger's God. Yeah. It was a cat all along.
I mean, I would worship a cat.
You wouldn't be the first.
Yep.
And then I feel like there's this play between something and nothing. And goodness, that's Shakespearean, isn't it? You know, between the 1 and the 0, between the defined and the infinite.
Yeah.
And having aimed at the infinite, they end up with nothing.
Okay.
So I feel like Ian is arriving at this conclusion in this song, which is believing in anything that someone has told you about is inherently false.
It's up to you to come to your own conclusion, and only then will you truly get the most out of your spirituality.
Exactly. And in the next verse, he does exactly that. Think I'll sit down and invent some fool, some grand court gesture.
Think I'll sit down and invent some fool, some grand court gesture.
Which he capitalizes.
Well,
And next time
on Google Lyrics they capitalize it. I don't
Google Lyrics capitalize. I think he rolls his R on grand. That's like a form of capitalization.
I wasn't aware of that, but I'll take note of that.
Yeah. any word that has a capital in it that also has an R, you have to roll your R's legally. That's English, Nick.
Okay.
You should know that as an English major.
That must be why I have so many fines, because I can't roll my R's. So that's why all those tickets come in the mail.
Think of all the money you could save. I can roll them for you.
Could you? I'll pay.
Yeah, send me your R's.
Yep, I will. I'll pay you half as much as the ticket, and then I'll still make out.
Hey, wow.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great year for me. So he says, I think I'll sit down and invent some fool, some grand court jester, and next time the die is cast, he'll throw a 6 or 2.
And next time the die is cast, he'll throw a 6 or 2.
So I feel like, okay, we have a gambling reference.
Mm-hmm.
Throwing a 6 is good. Throwing 2 6s is even better.
It's also a play on words, because he could be throwing a 6, or he could be throwing a 2.
Right, which in some dice-based games, a 2, basically, you're out.
Yeah. And a 6 is obviously the highest.
Unless you're
rolling a d20.
Truly a nerd, in which case you...
Yep. Yeah. Also, the line right before that, and next time the die is cast, that's also a play on like a die cast metal piece of structure as well.
That's a really good point, Nick. Yeah, I had not thought about that. But the next lines could still apply to it, It. So what I don't know is he saying, I will invent for myself my own definition of God, which is this jester.
Yeah, which it could, it could be anything. You don't have to hold it up on the highest pedestal. It could be a fool. It could be someone, it could be a simpleton. Totally.
Which is also very fascinating to me that, there's, again, this Buddhist saying, I feel like I'm showing my cards rather a lot in this episode, Nick.
Your Buddhist cards?
Yeah. There's this saying, if you meet the Buddha, kill the Buddha. Meaning like, if you encounter like the massive, perfect divinity of the universe, it's a lie, kill it.
Yeah, okay.
There, if you think you're meeting Buddha, you're not.
Got it.
Because everything is Buddha.
I also want to sorry, go no, finish.
No, I'm done.
I also want to pull a card from your other deck and talk about the fools of Shakespeare.
Oh, I started sweating there for a minute. I wasn't sure which deck you were talking about.
The one that's not sticky.
Oh.
All of the fools in Shakespeare spoke the truth. They spoke the harsh truth, but they were funny about it, and they knew the most.
Right, and historically, of course, there is a great connection between the divine and the fool.
Mm-hmm. The fools were often referred to as being touched by God.
Right, exactly. Yeah. In the tarot deck, the fool is the 0, which is as close to infinity as you can get. You just it's the neutral point. Mm-hmm. It may as well be God or a fool.
But it's also the lowest, quote unquote, because it's the bottom number.
Right.
Yeah.
So in a way, he's not bringing God down to his level. He's putting everyone on an even playing field.
Yeah, he's bringing everyone up to God's level.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And then saying, and then I don't know, is he saying like, because I've invented this divine entity, the odds will be in my favor? Or is he saying like, and then the next time I see some random stuff happen, I'll be like, 'tis what the fool wanted,
Well, the verse is first person, so think I'll sit down and invent some fool, some grand court jester, and next time the die is cast, he'll throw a 6 or 2. So he's saying the God that he's inventing, he's setting himself up for success by inventing a God who will give him the best outcome.
And maybe what it really is about is his relationship with divinity, saying that, okay, now that I've fully rejected traditional religion, I'm going to invent my own relationship with the divine, and because of that, I now have more control over my own destiny than I did before.
Right.
Because I have a direct connection.
Yeah. And your expectations are... You're not waiting for some vast unknown power to do things for you. Your life is back in your own hands.
You've empowered yourself with divinity. You've aligned yourself in a genuine way with the universe.
And I think at this point, divinity, quote unquote, is really just an acknowledgement of his own power. He is the divinity.
Well, right. The other thing to keep in mind is that during this period, he was wearing a lot of court jester outfits while he was performing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's a bit of a self-referential thing there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's exactly it. I think that's really on the nose. That's a good point.
But I don't think that he's sort of in the kind of Tiger King realm of like deifying himself. I think it's more like, it's exactly the opposite. It's like making a fool of himself is the most divinely respectful thing that he can do.
Yeah. It's the most humble. We are all our own gods, and we are nothing more than human. We are nothing more than fools.
And this last verse has never made sense to me until literally, Nick, this exact moment.
Awesome.
Oh, it's gone.
No.
Nope, it's back. So after this conclusion of, redefining his relationship with the divine, in and out of the back door, one front door angel. Her hair was a golden brown. She smiled, and I think she winked her eye.
A 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3.
Okay, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
I like the opposite dichotomy of that first verse. That it's very thematically, aesthetically pleasing to me.
Yes, it is.
The very opening verse was 12 ran out of the front door and he winked. Now it's 12 backdoor angels ran out of the front door and he winked. Now it's one front door angel ran out of the back door and she winked.
You know what I just realized,
What's
Nick?
that?
A little math lesson for you. What's 12 plus 1?
13.
A baker's dozen, which is exactly the number of the disciples plus Jesus.
Okay.
So has he traded all the followers of the divine for the divine itself?
Ooh.
He's traded the 12 for the 1.
Okay.
Bypassing through the 0, Nick.
I think the fact that she smiled and winked is a bit knowing. It's a bit like, yes, I've passed on the torch. I've passed the burden of divinity to you. My work here is done.
Right. Oh yeah, I like that. Because divinity lives in each of us.
That's right.
Oh.
Is that good?
I think we did it.
I think that's it for Backdoor Angels. It's still super opaque, but I feel like it does make a little more sense to me.
In and out of the back door ran one front door angel. Her hair was a golden brown. She smiled and I think she winked her eye.
By the way, dear listeners, welcome back Tiki the cat to the recording studio. She has, for the past couple of weeks, not deigned to join me in these recording sessions, but today she is right over on the windowsill, licking herself most luxuriously. So welcome back, Tiki the cat.
Maybe that's why the last couple episodes were so terrible.
that is why. She's our producer.
Yes, yeah, we needed her. We thought we could do it without her. We've proven ourselves wrong.
Nick, what are we listening to and talking Tull about next week?
Next week, track number 5, the last track off of side A off of War Child.
Oh.
It is Sea Lion.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's a good one.
I love this song.
It's a good one.
Well, until next week, you don't need to sneak through the back door of reviewing podcasts.
Back door of Apple Podcasts.
You can come right through the front door and leave us a 5-star review, and you would indeed be an angel to us.
Oh, that was good. I'm not doing anything on this episode. You did great.
Yeah, you know what, Nick? Just take it easy. I got this.
I'm gonna go grab a beer. I'll be right back.
Until next time, I am Omen Sade, and this is Talk Tull to Me. Nice, Tiki. Good Tiki. Do you enjoy the podcast, Tiki? Do you enjoy the podcast? Tiki. 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 Tiki, come on.